we're going to begin with some questions from the homework. So we're going to start with the homework on composition. And we're going to do 3 problems here. I'm not going to do all the parts, but we will do part A here. And so it says, find F composed with G of 2. So when you see this written, what it means is to first go find G of 2. So you look over 2, and first you have to identify G. So G is in the blue. And so if you plug in 2, you get out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this is really F of 5. And then you go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you look up 1, 2, 3, 4. And so this is equal to 4. And you can do the same thing for B, C, and D and still get your answer. Let's do one more. So that was A. Let's do the next one, B, and hopefully that'll hit it home for you guys. So G of F of 0. And so the first thing I'm going to do is find F of 0. So if you plug in 0, and we're looking at F here, so that's this red one, you get out 0. So this is really equal to G of 0. And so if you plug in 0, G says you get out 1, 2, height 3. So G of 0 is equal to 3. Let's look at the next type of problem, which instead of using a graph, we're going to use a table. So remember, with functions, you can understand them in 4 different ways. You can use a graph, a table, a formula, or even in words. So we're going to do 3 of the ways here. We did a graph. Now we're going to do a table. And let's just look at the first one. We want to find F of G of 1. And so what you're going to do is you're going to plug 1 into G. So here's G. If you plug in 1, you get out 3. So this is really equal to F of 3. And F of 3 is equal to, well, if you plug in 3 for F, you're going to get out 4. And so that's equal to 4. So you're just using the table. We can do one more here. If you have G composed with F of 1, which is part B, this is going to be equal to, and let's use a different color, if you plug in 1, so here's 1 again. If you plug it into F, you're going to get out 3, so that's equal to G of 3. And if you plug in 3, so here's 3, what are you going to get out for G? Well, it's the number 4. And so you get out 4 again. And you can keep on going through these, and it's the same idea each time. So that was with the table. And finally, oops, one more I want to do on this assignment. I want to do it with formulas. And so let's just pick one of these. And you should really multiply these out, even though these answers aren't multiplied out, and WebAssign will take it. Make sure you can multiply them out. So let's do this first one, G composed, F composed with G. So F composed with G, and they really should write this of X. And that's equal to, I'm going to use black here. So that's equal to F of G of X. So the order is the same. And what you're going to do is, wherever you see this G function, so G of X, you're going to replace it with what it's equal to, 4x plus 1. So this is equal to F of 4x plus 1. So one step at a time. And then that's equal to, now the idea is wherever you see an x, you're going to replace it with 4x plus 1. So this circle is going to be replaced by this circle. And so what you're going to get is 4x plus 1, quantity squared, and then you're going to take away 1. Because the rule for F is whatever's inside here, you square it and take out away 1. So this is inside there, you square it and take away 1. And now when we squared this out, so remember, let's do this up here. How do you square out 4x plus 1? You take 4x plus 1 times 4x plus 1. And so it's 4x times 4x, and then 4x times 1. So you're going to get 16x squared plus 4x. And then you're going to get 1 times 4x, and then 1 times 1. So you're going to get plus another 4x, and then plus 1 times 1, which is 1. And so this is going to equal, you'll have 16x squared. 4x plus 4x is a 16x. And you have plus 1. And then you have this minus 1. And so the 1s are going to cancel, and you'll be left with 16x squared plus 16x. So make sure you can do this multiplication, even though WebAssign will take it whether you do it or not. And so that's how you work with composition and formulas. So hopefully that helps you on your homework on the composition assignment. Let's look at the average rate of change and relative average rate of change assignment. And this is usually the one you guys have trouble with, so this is number 2. And so on number 2, it says find the average rate of change and the average relative rate of the function over the given interval. Give a decimal approximation rounded to 2 decimal places. So here's your function. And the reason this usually causes so much trouble is just basically putting it into your calculator. So let me get the calculator going here because it takes a second. And so remember the idea behind the average rate of change, it's simply the change in the output over the change in the input. And so let's get started. So on this one, what you're going to do, so for the average rate of change, this is going to equal, and I always write down this little formula to remind myself, the change in the out over the change in the in. And if you want to start to be a little bit fancy, you can actually write this, the output is in, so change in n, where the input is x, so change in x. So this delta, is the Greek letter delta, represents change in calculus. And so this is going to equal, we're going from 18 to 22. So this is going to be n of 22. So first I'll write it down in functional notation so you can see how this works. And I'll take off when I plug in 18. That's 18. Divided by the change in the input. So you went from 18 to 22, so it's always the final minus the initial. Make sure you think about this. I mean, you don't have to remember a formula. It's always final minus the initial whatever. How did my salary change? I take my final salary, my salary now, and subtract off what my salary was before. Or how's my weight changed? I take my final weight, my weight right now, and subtract off what it was before. And the signs are important. So suppose my change in my salary is positive, means I made money. If my change in salary is negative, it means I lost money. So the sign is very important. And so I'm going to write out what n of 22 means. It means plug 22 in for x. So I have 9 e to the 0.22. Oops, let me fix this. It's not 0.22, it's just 0.2. So e to the 0.2, and then I'm going to multiply that by 22 in the exponent, minus 9 e to the 0.2, and then x is going to be 18 because it's n of 18, all divided by 22 minus 18, which is just 4. And I can use my calculator to do this. So on my calculator, I'm going to take this out. I'm going to plug it in. Now, if you put this into your calculator, you have to remember that this has to be in parentheses because it's all on top. If you don't put the top part in parentheses, your calculator will not know that that expression right here is all on top. So you need to put left parenthesis 9, second ln to get to the e to the, and then 0.2 times 22. And since mine's an old school calculator, I have to close off the parenthesis. In the newer ones, you'll already be up in the power and the exponent, so you just hit over to get out. And then minus 9, and then second ln to get to the e to the, and then I'm going to have 0.2 times 18 in parentheses for the exponent, in parentheses for the expression, so that's that red parenthesis, and then I just divide by 4. And so this is going to equal approximately, and if I round this to 2 decimal places, it's going to be approximately 100.92. And so that's my answer for the average rate of change. The next thing you want to do is find the average relative rate. And this is basically a percentage to see how it grew related to what happened before. So the idea of the average relative rate this is equal to the average rate of change divided by the initial output. So this is going to be equal to, and you can take this previous answer, 100.92, and we're going to divide it by n of, and the initial is n of 18. It goes from 18 to 22, so the initial output is n of 18. And on here, we can say this is equal to then, and this is, I guess this is approximately since we already rounded. And then this is equal to 100.92 divided by, and then you can plug this as n of 18 is 9 e to the 0.2, with an 18 right there. and I'll use my calculator to crunch this out. Now I can find it more precisely if you just hit divide by, and I have to put parentheses in the bottom, so 9 second ln to get e to the 0.2 times 18 in parenthesis, end parenthesis, and I hit enter, and I get out approximately 0.31, which is about 31%. Notice on my calculator, I had to put parentheses, add these parentheses on the bottom so my calculator knew I was dividing by this whole expression. You're multiplying here, and if you don't put parentheses, it's going to divide by 9, and then multiply everything by this e to the 0.2 to the 18. Right, you need to put parentheses so the calculator knows you're dividing by this whole quantity. This is order of operations. So hopefully that helps on your homework.